Hello everyone, and welcome to our Accenture Military Panel discussion. My name is Michael Pett, and I'm a military recruiting specialist with Accenture, an Army veteran and a Sergeant First Class in the Illinois Army National Guard. At Accenture, we see services as strength. Fairness, respect, trust, and loyalty are just a few of the qualities individuals gain through military service. We value these qualities and are committed to hiring 5,000 veterans and military spouses by 2020. Joining me here in the studio are three veterans who've successfully transitioned from military service to careers here at Accenture. Together, we will discuss what those transition experiences have been like, some tools and resources that are available within Accenture to our military community, and how these individuals are continuing to make a positive impact through their work today. If you're watching us live, please feel free to submit your questions through Facebook, and we'll look to answer a few of these later in our session. To kick things off, let's go down the line and have each of you tell us a little bit about yourselves, what you did in the military, and what you do today. Angel, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, my name is Angel Christopher. So I'm a new joiner to Accenture. In the military, I had 3 occupational specialties. I was a 88 Lima, which is a watercraft engineer. I was also a legal specialist, and my last MOS was actually chemical, right? So I was a chemical warfare specialist. And after that, I did 3 enlistments, right? So I was in all 3 components, active duty, reserve, as well as National Guard. I worked in the civilian world for a little bit of time, so I spent some time working at Bank of America, JP Morgan, Freddie Mac, and recently now Accenture.
Thanks for coming. Autumn?
I am Autumn Tolliver. I was a 74 Alpha chemical officer in the military. I then transferred out and came into Accenture as the Jmo recruiter, and then wanted a new challenge, and now I am a solution architect for Accenture.
That's awesome. Jack?
I'm Jack Finan. I graduated from West Point in 2012, commissioned as an infantry officer, did my initial training at Fort Benning, Georgia. Then I moved up to Fort Drum, New York with the 10th Mountain Division. I served as a rifle platoon leader there, an executive officer, and an assistant operations officer. I got out about 6 months ago as a captain after doing 5 years. Right now I'm a deal execution lead within our resources practice, and I'm happy to be here.
That's awesome. Thank you all for being here. And thank you all for sharing excuse me, that information about your backgrounds. I'm sure we're going to learn a little bit more about each of you during our conversation today. To start, let's take a couple of minutes and talk about what brought you here. Autumn, I'm going to direct this to you first. What prompted you to make the transition from military service to civilian career?
So for me, there were 2 things that really helped me prompt my decision. One was my family. I am the oldest of 10 children, so having an impact in their life during this time in their life was very important to me. And I wasn't able to do that in the military. Now I'm 3 hours away, so I can go when I want. So that's number 1. And number 2 was for me to grow as a person outside of the military. I feel like I had done really well in the military, and I wanted to excel outside of the military and find a new challenge. So here I am. That's
great. Great. Jack, same question.
For me, I was looking for a new challenge. I had so many good experiences in the military, and I worked with such great people. I think all of us being veterans understand that. But I was ready for something new, and I thought that I could find that in the corporate world, and certainly have here at Accenture.
That's great. Veterans wanting challenge, I wouldn't imagine. So once you've made the decision to take on a new career, why Accenture? Angel, how did you learn about Accenture, and what was it about the company that interested you? I'm really curious how.
Well, so I was on vacation in Dublin, and I got an email from Michael Pett, and he said, we have this little outfit. I found your resume. Have this tiny little company you may have heard of called Accenture, and would you be interested in joining or trying to apply? We have a military recruitment initiative that we're trying to start up now, and that's how I was brought on, right? You brought me on, and it was great. And so, after you reached out to me, I was flown into Chicago, right? So it's my first experience with the Chicago office. I was flown into Chicago, and we went through the interview process. I remember we had a great Super Day. So it's exactly 1 year ago today.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah. On Veterans Day, 1 year ago, So we went through the 3-part case interview, and we had the Accenture Super Day for all the military, which I thought was great, simply because we weren't hired yet, right? We were in the interview process. So for you to fly us out, put us up, and introduce us to that lifestyle here at Accenture was great.
I'm great. That was a positive experience. And once again, speaking of challenges, for some people, a career change can be a challenge, right? And transitioning to a civilian career can often be tricky. Autumn, what was your recruitment experience like? And what tools or resources did you use, or do you still use, to help you navigate through that move?
Well, my transition was kind of rocky. When I first started transitioning, I was using those companies that kind of put you out there, and they're like, "Oh, this will be a good job for you," or "This is a good fit for you, and this is where your skills match," but not really what I wanted. So that part of my transition was not very fun. But I would tell people to stick with it. The tools that I used were social networking. That was how I am here. That's why I'm here today. I was on LinkedIn one day, and I read a blog about female leadership, and I actually just liked it overall about leadership. So I decided to write on it. A little bit later, one of the person who wrote it actually ended up being Ellen Shook, here, our global lead for HR, and she said, "Hey, thank you for writing on our blog. Can I have your resume?" And from there, it's history. So the tools I would say that help you navigate is definitely using that social media and your connections and who you know. Those tools, I think, are the most beneficial.
Okay, great. And Jack, you had a similar experience with the social media piece. Can you share about that?
I did. So similar to Autumn, I used LinkedIn as well. I did a lot of research on different consulting firms and banking companies while I was going through the transition process. And one day I come across David Rossi, who's also a West Point grad and a fellow veteran. And I didn't know it at the time, but he's our global natural resources lead, and I thought I'd take a shot, and I sent him a message. The next day, he called me. We talked for about an hour. He helped me out through the entire process, and he's been my mentor to this day, and has been a great help.
That's awesome.
It's been very fortunate.
So using leadership and social networking, specifically LinkedIn, is really kind of what brought you both here.
Yes.
That's great. Angel, was there any other tools or resources that you'd like to highlight?
Well, for me, I think the biggest resource that I've used has been the military ERG, which is our MERG, as we call it. And so, of course, when I first came, I met all of the MERG resources there, Roseanne Darbaris, and of course you as well. And throughout the whole process, they were so helpful. I remember emailing you, asking you about, places to live in Chicago once I got the acceptance, right? Once I got the offer letter, and, just getting tips on neighborhoods, how to find assignments, or even personal things that you might go through as a military member, right? A lot of times we have things that we go through when we're transitioning. And I think it's been extraordinarily helpful to have not only a large group of veterans who are there that I can utilize and, be a sounding board for as well, but also having veteran leadership and people who are still serving within Accenture at all levels.
Right.
In the MERG, helping people who are coming in, staying in, helping to retain everybody. So.
Right. So as you navigate that transition, having somebody both internally and externally helping you has been pretty useful.
Absolutely.
All right. So one thing as a recruiter that pops up pretty frequently, especially in my conversations with people looking to apply at Accenture, is around skills. So Jack and Autumn, have you been able to translate your military experience, how have you been able to translate your military experience at Accenture?
Yeah, I think any service member is going to have a foundation of discipline and leadership, whether you were a leader or a member of a team. I think you're going to come in with that baseline. And then for me, what I think has been the most beneficial for me is just being a member of a team. I think at Accenture specifically, the concept of team is huge. So being able to understand and work well within a team, and I think we're also used to stressful situations and meeting deadlines. That's another thing that you're going to find not only in Accenture but in the corporate world. I think kind of bringing all of that together is something that will serve veterans well anywhere they go.
Yeah. Autumn?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Those foundational skills that you get when you are in the military, from leadership to ability to adapt, those skills, they definitely translate well. Personally, I was a human resource officer, so I got to translate that into my human resources and recruiting. And then in my new role, I'm a solution architect, so that translated when I was a USR officer, using those abilities to coordinate with different teams to basically build one product.
Okay, so it's not just been specific skills that you've learned in military, but it's the interpersonal skills that you've been able to kind of craft while being in the military to help you transition. Okay, that's great. Let's check in on Facebook and take a couple of questions from the audience. Let's see what we got here real quick. All right, so first live question is, thank you all for your service. As an Accenture employee, what advice can you offer me to help any new veterans joining my team to make a successful transition? I'm gonna throw this one over to you, Jack, simply because you're the most recently transitioned. So the question once again was, what advice can you offer me to help any new veteran joining my team have a successful transition?
I think patience. So when I came in 6 months ago, and to this day, I ask thousands of questions. Julie Mueller, if you're watching, she's the one who's been training me. She can definitely attest to that. But I think, coming in, we're going to have a lot of questions. We're going to be excited. We're going to be new. We're going to have, like I was speaking about earlier, a baseline of skills that we're going to be able to leverage. But we're going to need maybe a little extra attention in terms of the on-the-job training. So I think, checking in with veterans, say, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything else you need? And just be willing and open to answer the questions is probably the most valuable thing that I think people can do for new military veteran hires.
Okay. Autumn?
I would say just allowing them to ask those questions and not letting them just assuming that they know the answer, because we have a lot of pride in the military, so we might not ask those hard questions.
Sure.
And I will tell my fellow veterans, ask those questions. But for our bosses and things like that, even our peers, we might not ask those questions, so you should maybe check on us once or twice.
Yeah. Angel, you have anything to input on that?
I think the only thing that I would add is, maybe be very task-oriented at first, right? Coming from the military, it's a lot of execution. And so I think veterans are very good at execution, and sometimes, as Jack was saying, right, the technical details might skip, right, some people, and they might need a little bit more, information that way.
Sure.
So I think keep your things task-oriented at first, and then, right, be patient in explaining the process and the project work.
Okay, and we're going to go down the line with this one. Do you have a mentor at Accenture? And if so, how do you use him or her as you navigated through your transition, or just, what you do day to day? Okay.
Well, luckily for me, my mentor happens to be my manager on my project. And so, with the day-to-day work, I think, she's been patient with me. That's also been helpful. I think I also came from some industry experience as well, so it's a little bit of a different transition for me. The day-to-day things is just, keeping on task, having somebody there to support you, and having someone who is open and understanding.
Okay. And before we jumped on, Angel, real quick, I think we skipped this. What do you do specifically at Accenture?
Oh, okay. So, right now, I'm a management consultant analyst. Right, I came in through the Student Veterans Program, and so right now, student veterans, yeah. And so the project I'm on right now, I'm in a change management and process analyst role.
Okay.
Working internally for Accenture with our CIO. So right now I'm working on Skype for Business and Microsoft Teams.
Awesome, which we're using, so that's great. Okay, Autumn?
All right, mentorship, right? I would advise, because this is how I've gone through the whole mentorship. I have mentors inside my internal group, so who I work with directly every day. And then I have also mentors outside of that close niche group that are within Accenture, but are veterans. So having the veteran side mentor and then having someone who's not a veteran, because they're going to give you a different outlook on things, I think is very important to keep a balance, because us veterans can be kind of narrow-sighted.
David Rossi, the person who I had talked to earlier about who helped me through LinkedIn. He's a fellow vet. He was a Black Hawk pilot, and he's now our global natural resources lead. He brought me in, and something he's done that I've really, really appreciated is he's exposed me to his wider network. So I met guys like Chris Woods, who's our Southeast natural resources lead, who's also a West Point grad and a veteran. Elliot Segarra, who's out of Chicago, who's an MC guy. And then from the sales team, Ron Aberman and Mark Petrie have been phenomenal. So they brought me in, they took a chance on me, but they've been great. You know, they're challenging us. Ron's our North American resources sales lead, and Mark Petrie's our North American deal execution lead. So they both have been great. They're always challenging the team. They've made a great team. We're all pretty tight knit. But going back to Dave, Dave's been great. Dave he's very hardworking, and he takes the time to check in. Hey, how you doing? How are things going? And he really appreciates the people under him who are working. So
that's
I've
awesome.
been very fortunate.
Right. It's good to know that we've veteran and veteran ally folks out there that can be mentors that help us as we move through the transition. I got one more question. I think we'll throw this over to Autumn real quick. Is the Jmo program?
Yes.
Would you like to dive a little bit deeper into that? Tell us a little bit more about it.
I would. So the Jmo program is obviously for JMOs, but it is basically a program where you come into
What's a Jmo real quick?
Junior Military Officer.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So all you 01 to 03 people, this is for you. You come into the consultant development program, which is really a program that allows you to transition well. And I say that because you're going from an environment where you're used to the military, and then you come into the corporate world, and it's very different. So this allows you to make a smooth transition because it allows you to go in the different industry groups. So you might work in products, you might work in health and public services, all in consulting. So it really gives you like an eye-opener of what maybe you want your niche to be in consulting. And really, I think it is really a good program for junior military officers.
That's great. I guess we can throw this out to the panel. What type of training is offered at Accenture to tie in our skills with others the company is looking for? So I can speak to it from a recruiting aspect, but has there been any programs that you've jumped on, whether it's internal training or something along those lines, to kind of help you fine-tune your skills as you've made that transition?
Oh, well, I think that there's a wealth, right? There's a plethora, right? I think one of the best things that I found when I came to Accenture was the KX, right? The knowledge exchange, right? So there is, and even the concept of it is something I think a lot of people think about, but I've never seen a company actually implement it on this scale, right? And so we have this knowledge exchange, which is a website or a data storage, right, site that we would go to, and you can store all of these documents, data, classes, right? Any information on anything that you want that we deliver to our clients, you can find on the KX. And so when it comes to learning anything, whether it's Excel, whether it's learning how to do, change management, whether it's learning, Scrum, right? It's out there.
That's awesome.
Right? I mean, millions of things are available. So when it comes to that, I think there's never a person in Accenture who would say that they didn't have information because it's just not available.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
And if they are, we're probably leading the way, innovating that, right? So.
You both find that a useful tool as well?
I do, yeah. Just like the military, you're going to have a lot of online training that we have, which I think is great. Not only for your job, but you can go outside of that if you just want to learn more about different roles within the firm. And then I haven't been fortunate enough to go out to St. Charles, but I know our on-site training there.
Right.
I hear great things. It's not only you're learning a lot, but you're meeting a lot of people within the company. So you're networking, you're finding friends, and just having a good time.
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
I did actually go to St. Charles, so in consulting university. So it's great mentors, great teachers there. You learn a lot for coming in as a consultant.
Nice. The other CU. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So this is coming from an Accenture employee. A friend of mine is a military spouse. Can you share some information about programs in place to help military spouses get a role with and succeed at Accenture? This is a great question. So with our military recruiting team, we do have folks that are dedicated to working with spouses as they make a transition, right? Because they do make a transition too. They've given up so much, whether it be from moving around from duty station to duty station or forfeiting, potential employment opportunities. So what we've found to do is we've got dedicated folks that will work with them to make sure that they understand what skills they can use, what they can leverage, and what they can help find them a new role here at Accenture. We'll do whatever we can through our high-touch process to make sure they get just as much comfort and satisfaction as the rest of our employees do. Okay. So looks like we're getting near the end of our time here. So just as a final question to our panelists here, what advice do you have for military service members, veterans, military spouses, who might be looking for a career change? We'll start with Jack and we'll work our way back.
Don't get overwhelmed. I know it's something new and foreign. You're used to something. It's very regimented and normal in the military. But don't get overwhelmed. Take a breath, do your research, and then I would say network, because you never know what opportunity is going to come up, or what engagement is going to lead to something for you in the future. It worked for me. It worked for Autumn. So it's going to be able to work for other people.
Right, Autumn.
I would say to take that leap. It is scary. It is going from something that you're totally used to something that you're not used to, and something that you're probably very good at, and then something that you don't know if you're going to be good at. So just take the leap and don't settle. I would say that would be the biggest point. You're going to probably get a lot of different offers, but really tie into what you want and who you are as a person and what is going to make you happy, because ultimately, that's what's going to make you happy. That would be my advice.
Okay, great. And Angel?
Yeah. I would say, go for it. Jump into what we call your Accenture adventure. Right? I think, there's a wide range of availability of roles, of different things that you can perform and different tasks and work that you can do here, as well as growing as a person. And I think also one thing that I like about Accenture is, the diversity, right, which I think is something that we kind of forgot,
Sure.
to speak about here. It's so similar to the military, right, where we are always collaborating with all of these different people, in all of these different spaces. And Accenture is pretty much the exact same way, right, but the civilian side. And so you can bring those collaboration skills and you can come here and work collaboratively together and really deliver a lot of value for our clients and for yourself, right? So I think join, jump into it, and if you can, hopefully you'll be like me a year later on Veterans Day here.
I think we can all agree that military does equal diversity.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I want to thank you. I want to thank my panelists for all being here. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Follow Accenture Careers in U.S. online and on social to stay up to date on Accenture news, people stories, and opportunities. For information about our military recruiting programs, please visit accenture.com/military. To our fellow veterans and military families, thank you all for your service.
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks.
you guys coming here.
No worries.
We were just